Chikankari, the 400 plus year old textile that remains a global sensation. Started as a white on white delicate embroidery form, the Indian chikankari work is said to go as far back as the early 3rd century BC. However, the most popular story is that Nur Jahan, the wife of the Mughal emperor Jahangir, introduced the Persian art in India in the 17th century. It is said to be derived from a Persian word chakin, which means creating delicate patterns on a fabric. Lucknow's elegant textile is a detailed form of embroidery that often uses motifs of Mughal architectural themes. The artisans involved in the art of chikankari belong to the local Muslim communities like the Julahas and Muslim Dhagis, where nearly 90% of the work is done by women professionally. During the peak of its popularity before the British era, chikankari rivaled the most exotic engineered laces of Europe in the entire world market. Its golden years in the period of Mughals and Nawabs were followed by a rapid decline during the early colonial era as the British textile industry succeeded in manufacturing competitive textiles mechanically. Yet, in the later part of the 19th century, chikankari embroidered items of various genre and quality were made for export to Western markets. It soon began to re-emerge with the same popularity it had before and took no time in being commercialized. It is now available in almost every part of the country as well as is exported to cloth manufacturers all around the world. During the medieval and British eras, the work was done using needles on the favored fabric of muslin or mulmul as it was best suited to the warm, slightly humid climate. Although it is believed that the true exquisiteness of this work only comes out on making it with one's hand, today cheap machine-made imitations of the chikankari work can be found in markets. Along with this, the clothes are found in several colors. We can find traditional handmade chikankari works in the present markets as well. The artfully done floral work from Uttar Pradesh is truly a masterpiece of subtle beauty and quite the sight to behold.
Hello, my name is Advait and I am from 8D. From the land of God's own country, Kerala, Kasavu sari emerges as one of the finest traditional saris. The origin of the Kasavu sari can be tracked back to various centuries where women would wear a two-piece cloth called settu mundu, more popularly known as mundu neriyuthum. They produced superfine mundu neriyuthum for the need of the Travancore royal family. It defines the essence of the beauty of every woman in Kerala. It is a handloom cotton design material which enhances its glamour. What makes it unique is the borders are soaked in the color of pure gold. It is considered to be an auspicious ethnic attire. The original Kasavu cloth was made by hand from cotton yarn and the borders from golden threads. This fabric depicted remarkable sketches of painter Raja Ravi Verma. It also has its popularity in the mythological epics like Mahabharata. Traditional copper and gold jewelry go well with this fabric. This fabric has its original essence from the Buddhist era as well as the Roman culture known as palmilin. It is originally weaved in Kuttampuli by the Devaganga Chettiar community from Karnataka who were bought by the Maharaja of Kochi 500 years ago. They produced this in bulk and sold it through a centralized collective market and till date sold it there. Thank you.
Hello all, I am Arnav from class 8B. Today I will be talking about Paithani sari from Maharashtra. The Paithani sari has its origins in antiquity, hailing from the royal dynasties of the medieval town Paithan near Aurangabad. The art of making Paithani is more than 2000 years old and dates back to the Satavahan dynasty. The community of craftsmen specializing in weaving Paithani saris are from Paithan and Yola. The entire process from dyeing of the yarn to weaving is done by hand. This traditional art of weaving is passed from one generation to another since centuries. Sadly, the Paithani weaving industry experienced a setback with the Industrial Revolution and the advent of the British rule, which banned the weaving of all traditional textiles in India. But in the 17th century, the Peshwas took it upon themselves to promote the craft and consequently settled Paithani weavers in Yola, which is now the manufacturing hub for Paithani. From then on, Paithani experienced a new lease of life. The popular Pallav motifs include more, that is peacock, Pangudi Mor means bangle with 4 peacocks and a lotus. Munia means parrot. Ajanta lotus. Aswali means vines and flowers. Kairi means mango shape. And Akruti means almond shape. Paithani is a hand-woven silk with sari with a rich ornamental zari, which is a gold thread, in pallav and border. What really sets the Paithani apart is its unique weaving technique where the front and back of the weaves look similar. Paithani sari is still the essential part of Maharashtrian weddings where the bride adorns the sari for the ceremony. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. Today I'll be talking about the Mysore silk sarees. The growth of silk industry in the kingdom of Mysore was first during the region of Tippu Sultan. Mysore silk sarees are the trademark for the silk sarees produced by KSIC, Karnataka Silk Industry Corporation. The most distinct feature of the Mysore silk is the use of genuine silk and pure gold and silver. There are different varieties of silk clothes, but Mysore silk sarees are liked by women because of their smoothness and lightweight and their texture. There is a silk factory owned by the government of Karnataka which is famous for its silk sarees. The Mysore factory was founded in 1912 by Maharaja Nalwadi Krishnaraj Yadiyar. The silk fabric was used by the royal family, mostly wore during the Indian festival or wedding. The silk is an occasion-oriented fabric. Now let's go into the inside story of the silk. The silkworm. These worms are soft-bodied, slow-moving and grows fast. Like other insects, silkworms to go through 4 stages of development: egg, larvae, pupae and adult. The larvae is a caterpillar and the pupae is what the silkworm changes into after spinning its cocoon before emerging as a moth. The silkworm should shed its skin 4 times and the eggs normally hatch during summer, which gets inside the mulberry trees and sheds them in winter. It takes a silkworm around 48 hours to fully complete these process. The result is perfectly ovate cocoon made of single continuous strand of silk which is up to 1 kilometer. They put the cocoon in the steam so the pupae dies inside and collect the thread easily without breaking the thread. And after this, the thread will be healed and it will become into a beautiful saree.
My name is Avakaran from AC. Today I have the world famous Sambalpuri Ikat, also known as Bandha with me. They were so famous that in the Ajanta caves, Buddha's dressings were with these prints. They are made in Odisha's Sambalpur district's western village, Borapalli. The locality is mainly divided into 2 types. One is the Kushta Mehers. They work strictly with delicate silk. And the other are Bhalia Mehers, whose making has 4 processes. First is consulting culture. As legend has it, the Devi had blessed them as Devangas and told them they would never be hungry as long as they lived. And the second one is to craft it. Next is to tie-dye the threads in patches, and the final step is to weave it. You can make anything by weaving using the curved lines which have their own speciality. It is the mark of Sambalpuri weavers to make the borders with rudrakshas, to classify them as front and back. As you can see here, the front and the back. This is the only place you can classify. Else, the whole fabric is the same. So we can make animal prints as shown over here, or the temple. This is also known as Fera because 2 threads come here and return, and in Odia, returning is called as Pheriva. Next we have cat paw prints, swans, Lakshmi Pada Chinhas, and explicit designs that look very well, geometric shapes and curved lines. This take almost 3 to 4 weeks as a minimum and last for 3 to 4 generations, which is a heirloom. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Gautam Raju. My today's SEA topic is Kanchipuram silk sarees. Kanchipuram is essentially a silk saree that can well be considered South India's answer to the more popular Banarasi saree, owing to the thick fabric and deep colors mixed with hints of gold. This saree is preferred for festive occasions and celebrations. Like with most silk sarees, you can count on Kanchipuram silk saree to be the perfect outfit choice when you are looking for a classy ethnic option. The story of Kanchipuram silk saree begins in Hindu mythology. Legend has it that the Kanchi silk weavers are descendants of sage Markanda, who was considered to be the master weaver of the gods themselves. Settled in the small town of Kanchipuram, the famous Kanchipuram sari weave goes back 400 years. It was during the reign of Krishna Deva Raya that the art really took off. Two major weaving communities of Andhra Pradesh, the Devangs and Saligars, migrated to the town of Kanchipuram. They used their excellent weaving skills to make the silk sari that bore images of scriptures and figurines found on the temples around the village. It didn't take long for the sari to evolve into a must wear for women at traditional ceremonies, weddings, and other festivities that the practice still continues in South India. Kanchipuram silk saris are woven from pure mulberry silk. While the silk belongs to South India, the pure gold and silver sari comes from Gujarat. The silk thread that is used to weave the sari is dipped in rice water and sun-dried before it is used in order to increase both its thickness and stiffness. The silk thread is then interlocked with a thin silver wire and woven through, after which a golden thread is used to complete the procedure. Thank you, ma'am.
This is the Kanchipuram sari, originating from Kanchipuram, a small town in Tamil Nadu. The Kanchipuram sari wearing style is being weaved for 400 years now by weavers who moved from Andhra Pradesh and gained popularity during the reign of Krishna Deva Raya. As per Hindu mythology, the Kanchi silk weavers were descendants of sage Markanda. They were the weavers of God and weaved silk from the tissue fiber of lotus. This material was a favorite of Lord Vishnu. The unique feature of the textile is the Kanchipuram sari pattern, which is made up of pure silk, with designs having zari or silk threads dipped in liquid gold and silver. For it to be classified as a Kanchipuram sari bride wear, it is said that the decorative zari must have at least 57% of silver and 0.6% of gold in it. During British era, the silk were mostly hand woven to design the best collection. The famous weavers of the city of Kanchipuram had developed the art of converting this fabric into beautifully designed saris. The designs were inspired by the scriptures and art of the temples in Kanchipuram, but in present, the Kanchipuram is woven using few machines. Hand-woven saris are less now. Thank you.
Hey there, look at this beautiful sari I'm wearing. Can you guess its name? Yes, it's the famous Ilkal sari in Bagalkot district from India. The art of this beautiful textile began in the 8th century AD in the Bagalkot district of Karnataka in India. The growth of these saris is attributed to the patronage provided by the local chieftains in and around the town of Bellary. So what makes this textile so famous and so beautiful that it can't be woven by machines and it must be hand woven? The charm of Ilkal saris is enhanced by the embellishing with Kasuti embroidery. Kasuti is a traditional form of folk embroidery practiced in the state of Karnataka. Kasuti work, which is very intricate in detail, involves putting up to 5,000 stitches by hand. So who are the miracle workers who create this fabric? Ilkal saris were first designed and produced almost exclusively by the weavers at Ilkal. Earlier, it was a sari that was worn by local women near Bagalkot district and was sold near local areas and villages. But in markets today, Ilkal saris are sold worldwide with high trade due to their intricate designs and fine quality. Although, with the advent of British rule, the situation changed drastically and the weaving industry suffered on account of the policy set by the imperial government of the Britishers and the severe competition from mill-made fabrics. Many Ilkal sari handloom weavers are going through a very tough phase in our current situation, as the cost of all the raw materials has increased highly. And many are giving up on the practice of this beautiful textile. This art of weaving Ilkal saris takes time and is truly worth it due to the bright colors and gorgeous borders. Thank you.
Namaskar. Art is not a handicraft. It's a transmission of what the weaver has experienced. Jamdani, originally known as Thakai Jamdani or only Thakai, is named after the city Dhaka in present-day Bangladesh. It was one of the main weaving centers of ancient Bengal region. So the name Jamdani has two parts, Jam meaning flower and Dani meaning vase. The earliest mention of Jamdani was found in Chanakya's Arthashastra and also in the accounts of many Arab, Italian and Chinese traders and traders. Some of the unique features of a Jamdani are that it's transparent, it has floral motifs, and it is also one of the most labor intensive and time consuming handlooms of India. It is also one of the finest varieties of muslin. So here are a few samples of Jamdani. So as you can see, this one has as well as many various colors of threads. In previous days, the Jamdanis were usually white or grey colors, but nowadays various colors of Jamdani are also available. Thank you.